Bonjour, today let's learn how to conjugate a verb from the third group in French in 5 different tenses. Okay, so far we've learned how to conjugate the first group verb in 5 tenses, the second group verb in 5 tenses. Today what I'm going to do is try to teach you how to conjugate a third group verb in 5 different tenses. Now, this one is really hard for me to do. The reason being is that I can choose one verb and conjugate it in 5 different tenses, and it will not follow the pattern of another irregular verb, okay? So I'm going to teach you that the endings remain the same, okay? But the stem is never the same, okay? So I'm going to choose the verb connaître today, connaître. And connaître is a highly irregular verb, okay? And you will see why in a minute when I conjugate it in the passé composé. Now, I choose connaître because it means to know. Now, connaître quelqu'un, to know somebody, okay? We have another verb which is to know, which is savoir, okay? Savoir, as in to know how to do something, okay? Now, connaître is to know somebody. Okay, let's have a look at how we conjugate the verb connaître in the present tense. Now, like I said, you can use any other verbs and it might not be the same ending. I'm thinking of pouvoir, which is to be able to as well, vouloir, to want. They will not have the same ending in the present tense as I am about to teach you. So the reason for this video is for you to realize that actually when it comes to third group verbs, you have to learn the patterns, okay? You've got to learn how to conjugate them individually, okay? I know it's really hard to do because we have tons of irregular verbs in French. Let's have a look at connaître. In the present tense, connaître is je connais. So what we are trying to say is I know, okay? It's present. I am knowing or I know. Je connais. Tu connais. You know. Il connaît. He knows. Elle connaît. On connaît. Nous connaissons. Now, this is where it's really important for you to learn it because you can realize now that actually it doesn't sound like connaître, it doesn't sound like connaît, it sounds like connaissons. Okay, so nous connaissons. This will come really useful in a minute when conjugating the same verb in the imperfect tense. So remember well the nous form in the present tense of the verb connaître. Nous connaissons. We know. Vous connaissez. You know. Ils connaissent. Elles connaissent. So now you get the picture of why I have chosen this verb because it's really hard unless you know it by heart. Now, let's have a look at the same verb in the passé composé. I don't need to teach you what a passé composé is because if you followed my lessons, you would know what a passé composé. It's a past tense that has happened in the past and is gone done over with. Now, what you need to know when you conjugate a third group verb is to know the past participle of that same verb in order to be accurate. And you need to know how to conjugate the verb to be and to have in the present tense too, because these are known as auxiliary verbs, really important to form the past tenses. Now, for connaître, we use avoir, to have as a present tense, so I have, you have, and then we add what we know as a past participle. But you're going to say, but what is the past participle of connaître? Well, for connaître, it is connu. Now I know, I don't know why, okay, connu. And this is where it is hard to conjugate a third group verb because you will see that a lot of those third group verbs do not follow a pattern. For example, savoir, which is to know as well, is su, S-U, in a past participle. Okay, so we are trying to say I have known or I knew. Okay, it's the same. These two tenses in English have only one in French, which is I have known. So here we go. J'ai connu, I have known. Tu as connu. Il a connu. Elle a connu. On a connu. Nous avons connu. Vous avez connu. Ils ont connu. Elles ont connu. Okay, so this is the past tense, the passé composé. Let's have a look at what it looks like in the imperfect tense. Now, in the imperfect tense is a tense that has happened in the past but somehow carried on over a period of time or something that you used to do, okay? So, I was knowing or I used to know is what we want to try to say. In order to form the imperfect tense, as I said, remember what I said to you at the very beginning when we conjugated the same verb in the present tense? I said remember the nous form. Nous connaissons. Now, the reason being is that we want to use the stem of that, connaissent, okay? And this stem is going to be transported into the imperfect tense. And then what you do, you add the imperfect endings. Now, again, if you're not familiar with the imperfect endings and if you're watching this video out of the blue without having followed my lessons, please refer back to how to conjugate a verb in the imperfect tense, okay? That will help. Now, I used to know, I was knowing, je connaissais. Okay, so we've got the connaissent stem and then the ending for the imperfect. Je connaissais, I used to know. Tu connaissais. Il connaissait. Elle connaissait. On connaissait. Nous connaissions. Vous connaissiez. Il connaissait. Elle connaissait. So here we've got the imperfect tense of connaître. Now again, you may say, but what happens in other third group verbs? Well, again, learn the stem and learn the present tense of that irregular verb really well, and that will give you clues of how to conjugate this verb into the imperfect. I am only giving you one verb here, but other verbs will not necessarily sound like that, okay? So they will have the same ending though. The same endings, because this is what, to me, a French person speaks to me and gives me these endings. I know that the tense is happening in the imperfect tense, okay? These are signals, okay? But the stem, however, unless you're French, you will not, or French speakers, you will not know how to conjugate this, okay? So let's have a look at another tense, which is the future tense. Future tense of connaître is slightly more simple, and it happens for a lot of irregular verbs as well, though sometimes, especially for the verb to be or to know, actually to have, the stem changes completely. But let's have a look at connaître in the future tense. Now we want to say I will know, quite simply. We do not have a will. Doesn't exist, you know, will, would, should, could, no. Okay, so we want to say I will know by using the proper stem and the proper future endings. Now the future endings, funnily enough, are easy to know because have a look at the passé composé and have a look at the verb avoir in the present tense. Est, a, on, et on. Can you see that? The endings? These are the endings of the future tense. So you stick that to the right stem. The stem is connaître, a at the end. Okay? And all future and conditional tense sounds like re sound. So, je connaîtrai à those est, and here you have the future tense. I will know. Tu connaîtras, you will know. Il connaîtra, he will know. Elle connaîtra, she will know. On connaîtra, one will know. Nous connaîtrons, we will know. Vous connaîtrez, you will know. Ils connaîtront, elles connaîtront, they will know. Okay, how hard is it? Is it okay? Okay, let's have a look at the conditional tense. So here we are going to learn how to say I would know. And remember what I've just said is that there is no will, would, should, could. No. Okay, so we have special endings. Now the way you form, and listen really carefully, the way you form the conditional is quite simple in some ways. You use the stem of the future tense, which in this case is connaître, and you add the endings of the imperfect tense. Can you see that? It's crazy. So, these endings of the imperfect tense with the stem of the future tense make the conditional. So, how do we say I would know? Je connaîtrais. You would know? Tu connaîtrais. Have a look. You know it's the same endings as the imperfect. Il connaîtrait. Okay, it's the S sound throughout. Elle connaîtrait. Nous connaîtrions. Vous connaîtriez. Il connaîtrait. Elle connaîtrait. And if you look at the future tense and the conditional tense next to each other, the new form has only one letter difference. It's an I sound. So nous connaîtrons, we will know. Nous connaîtrions, we would know. There is just one letter. And this throws me sometimes. You know, it takes one letter to change the whole meaning of a sentence. Okay? So you've got to be really, really aware of this. Okay, that's it for me. Please subscribe to Learn French with Alexa, the YouTube channel, and check the support guide that comes with this lesson at learnfrenchwithalexa.com. That's it for me. Au revoir, à bientôt. Bisous, bisous.